So I have another interesting question for you. When you teach PGP students in the batch, what is your perspective? Do you think people who come to IIMs, whether it be PGPs or FPMs or PhD students or EPGP, do you think there's a qualitative difference on an average? Or do you think if you went to, say, one of these non-IIMs, or maybe one of the newer IIMs, is it just a luck factor on how people do on that day of the exam? Or is there a qualitative difference in the group of people that you teach on an average? And we're not talking about exceptions.
Because I would say that if I take a slice of ABC, that would be a cluster. I'm not so sure about L, where it just falls, because it may also belong to the ABC cluster. But compare that to any other cluster, you would see a difference. And why am I telling you this is because I interview close to 200 students every year. And I know that we are able to reasonably make a difference between those who are coming in and those who are not coming. Although a CAT score may not differentiate so much, because you might argue that, well, what's the difference between a 99.7 percentile and a 99 percentile? I mean, that's hardly anything. But compared to your time when you went to IIMB, only CAT was the determinant for you to get in, right? CAT was make or break. Either you cracked it or you don't. Whereas today, CAT is only about 22-23% of the total weight. Significant amount of weight is now put on your past academic performance. So I think people who are coming here and IIMB, and this is something which even A and C have also following, they have a much stronger, consistent academic performance. So in the class, you do
Past academic, then CAT, what else?
then interview actually has a huge weight now.
And you also have essays and things like that?
We have a test of written English, kind of equivalent. Yeah, that's it. Group discussions are no longer there now.
Okay.
The written proficiency in writing is something that is still there.
And compared to the number of people so to get a batch of 600 people, do you end up interviewing 1,200 people? Is the ratio 2:1 or 3:1?
Yeah, so for a general category, it is more than 3:1. It can be a 4:1 kind of thing.
Wow.
Whereas for reserved categories, it's a little less, the ratio, because we don't. So what happens is there are two things, right? There is also a lower cutoff below which we don't want to go. So if you are looking in that range, then we sometimes don't get enough candidates within it for reserved categories. But for general category, it's definitely between 3 and 4 times.
That's very impressive, because I don't think Stanford and Harvard, they have a 4:1 cutoff when it comes to the interview phase. So that's a lot of filtering happening at that level.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different scale, right? I mean, this year more than 300,000 people applied for CAT, and on the day of exam, there were 2.9 lakh people who wrote the exam. We will be selecting 600 out of them. So in terms of selectivity,
wow,
we are definitely much tougher than any of the other business schools in the world.